Welcome to the DIY Writer Show with the mild-mannered, slightly heroic host, Jeff Bacon.
This is Jeff Bacon with the DIY Writer Podcast, and today we have the amazing, multi-talented Qat Wanders. Qat, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Qat, I've known you for a few years now, and for those of you who don't know, Qat is both a fiction and a nonfiction writer, and she also has an editing business, which is really interesting. So we get to hit you on all different sides here.
You can hit me from any side you want.
Oh, cool. Well, let's start talking about your books.
All right.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's start with your fiction. You're adopted by owl. Controlled by a demon, and
a fire demon. There's a difference between fire demons and regular demons, but
well, that's true.
Yes,
that's true.
Yeah. So adopted by the owl. That was the first of a series of 4 books, and then there's a free prequel that you can get if you sign on to the mailing list too, or you can buy the prequel if you don't want to sign on to my mailing list. That's okay too. Yeah, it's a young adult urban fantasy, and it was just kind of. It's like I wrote them so long ago, and they were the first ones I put out, and I just really love the series, but I've got so much more stuff in the works. It's kind of I've evolved a lot in my storylines since then, and my books are getting a lot weirder. And they're already pretty weird. I mean, The Owl series is about a high school cheerleader who turns into a giant bloodthirsty owl, and there's a demon inside her that talks to her in her head. And she breathes fire. So and then she meets this boy who's a demon and falls in love with him, and she ends up having to go into the depths of hell and fight their way out. So it's a weird it's a weird series.
Is it weird that I don't find that odd?
No, because you're an author too. And
okay, cool.
And your books are weird too.
Yeah, they are. But that's their charm. That's the charm. So you've got that. Your daughter also wrote a book a while back, which was kind of interesting. And and that was a pretty, I can't remember the name of it now.
Children of the Elements.
That's what it was.
And,
yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't she was 8 when she started it. She was, I think she was 9 by the time she finished it. And then it went through editing, and she had, a full team of professional editors. So people are like, this book's amazing. I'm like, well, yes.
How'd she get a full team of editors? That's really weird.
I know, it is weird when her mom owns an editing business.
Yeah. Okay. Connection made. Never mind. Sorry.
So she had it was a project, but it's like a 360 page full-blown fantasy novel, and it's actually really good. She got a little fan base. It's a really good story. And then there's still 3 more books coming. She's still working on book 2.
Oh.
I would glare at her. She's supposed to be in there working on it right after school. So I've had to start bribing her to write 500 words a day. So I take her cell phone away until she gets 500 words written, because damn it, we're getting this book 2 out in 2021. It's happening. And I might have to tie her to her writing chair, but it will happen. And then we also worked on a series together. So we co-authored a series. It's a book of 4 called the Animage Academy. And it's like this academy where people turn into animals, and we have a unicorn shifter in it, and a pug shifter, and a hummingbird shifter.
A pug shifter?
Yeah. And then how pugs, sometimes their eyes pop out of their heads.
Yeah.
So it's this, and because pugs are of Asian descent, so they came initially from pugs are from Asian countries. That's where they originated from, in that breed of dog. So it's this Korean girl named Jisoo, and she has really big eyes, and when she gets excited, they pop out of her head. And then she's a pug shifter, and it's such a fun series. But we're in the process of editing book 1 right now, so it'll be out by March.
Oh, cool.
So the whole series will be done this year. But yeah,
very cool. And then you have a long list of nonfiction books that you've written also.
Yeah, not the longest of lists.
Well, it's a good list.
I've co-authored a few. There was the Author Inc. that did really well, and that's what actually got me into the top 100 authors in Amazon, was that one. Yeah. And then I was just part of a co-authoring project called Get Published. There's 2 of them, like Paul Brody did Get Published 1 and this was Get Published 2 that I was just featured in. And I haven't figured out how to add that to my Amazon author page yet. But like I started out in the self-help realm doing yoga books that just got really popular, and that's not really where my focus is now. All of the nonfiction that's going to be coming is going to be focused on either editing, like I'm actually working on one called Ask an Editor, and then there's going to be a series of 3 or 4 editing books, and then I have a business book, which is, it's either going to be unedited, called Unedited, or like living an unedited life, and that's all focused on the dark side of being an entrepreneur. Like everyone's like, hey, your success, it's so great, you built all this, it's amazing. I'm like, cool, do you want to know how it really went? And and explaining like the vulnerability of like all the bullshit you have to go through to actually be completely self-made with your author career or any entrepreneurial career.
I think one of the problems with a lot of people that have not been self-employed is that they'll look at the invoice amount, or they'll look at, well, you brought in X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that, like, when they look at their paycheck and they see Social Security on there, that's only half of what actually gets paid to the government. I mean, so, it's $100. Yeah. Well, when you're self-employed, that's $200, and then there's other taxes, and then there's state taxes, and then there's permits and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And all the sales tax crap that you have to go through, and the industries that you support, as far as those damn accountants to get all that stuff figured out. And then the lawyers to get your corporate shit in gear, and then just the pure income tax. And hey, I love paying half of my money right to the government, even though they didn't do a damn thing.
And then expenses, like
yeah.
I brought in like over $500,000 last year, and my profit margin was like well below 6 figures by the time I looked at my numbers at the end of the year. And that's like, I had even done a post on Facebook about that, and everyone started making fun of me like, oh boy, you really don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, maybe not, but like I've been doing this and my profit margin has been doubling every quarter since. So like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. It's just, I didn't have, like, there was no how-to manual that you're born with to be like, hey, here's how you're going to live life. Here's how you're going to be a single mom, and you're going to deal with health problems and run a business, and it's going to be great. No, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I built my business from scratch in 2016, and I just figured it out as I went along. Like it's not always easy.
The first thought that usually comes to mind when I see somebody that comments on, oh my God, you must not know what you're doing, or you should have a different profit margin, or, I saw in college. Yeah, you try it, pal. You go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And you go ahead and, in my business, I bid things out, and sometimes you get the bid, sometimes you don't. And there's always some asshole that undercuts. I mean, it's they're charging half the price. It's like they either have just started and have no idea what they're getting into, or they have no experience and they're trying to lowball to get some. They're trying to buy experience with a cheap price. And more times than not, it leads to a cleanup project, which is really nice. But on the other hand, of course they have MBAs and all this other crap that, they want to tout that, oh, look, I'm so smart. And they end up screwing themselves. And you usually see them in tax court at some point in time, because I mean, the state and everybody else, I mean, at some point in time, I think when you're self-employed, you have to deal with these state and county and city folks. And every now and then you're like, screw you. You want to yell at them because they're just in there just to put their hand in their pocket and take out whatever they can.
Yeah, they just want to make things difficult.
Yeah, I mean, being in business is tough. There's definitely rewards, but it's really tough. And what you make in gross is not nearly what you make in net.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not.
Yeah.
But,
yep.
And also the hours. The hours are so great, only working 40 hours, 35 hours a week being self-employed. That's about what it is, right?
I did 72 hours last week.
Uh-huh.
And keep in mind, my daughter's home full time doing remote schooling. So every, 20 minutes or so, she just walks into my room, hey mom. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm not bitching about my life. I have a pretty, I like where my things are going. It's just that anybody who says it's easy really has no idea how much how productive you have to be within an hour.
Yeah.
Just getting the normal stuff done and then
Yep.
go out and actually produce an income.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I love my life, but I worked my ass off to be here, and I'm still working my ass off, and there's still ebbs and flows. Like I'm in the middle of an ebb right now. Last year was a great flow. Like 2020 kicked my ass.
I think it kicked everybody's ass.
Mhm.
I mean, it really did.
Yeah.
From the IT perspective, I had bids that just, I was sure, I'm going to get these, and they canceled the projects because COVID,
Yeah.
and,
Same
which
here.
I understand, but on the other hand, it's like, ouch,
Yeah. At the beginning, when we all went into lockdown, like all of my clients in my roster, they all just bailed or like mid-project because they were all scared they weren't going to have enough money to pay for it. And when it comes down to it, an essential thing that you need is not book editing. And there was a boom after the lockdown ended and people had spent all their time in quarantine writing books. And so there was a boom of like, hey, I wrote a book while I was on lockdown.
Yeah.
But the boom went away again because it's just been back and forth and everything. It's been crazy. I'm looking at my lighting now and realizing that
What's that?
I'm looking at the lighting now and realizing my lighting's going to change, and I'm going to have to find a light here at some point.
Ruh-roh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
So let's get a little bit into your history. You used to be in a circus.
Yes.
Yeah.
14 years.
14 years. What'd you do there?
I was an acrobat. And then I started as a belly dancer. Then I was an acrobat and I did fire performances like up in the air. I like heights. I just like to be up high. My name's Kat. And I'm terrified of water, but I always land on my feet. That's why I skydive and I refuse to scuba dive. But it terrifies me. But yeah, I did circuses. I did like traveling festivals, carnivals. I did carnivals.
Yeah.
The C word about the carnivals though. And then I also did Renaissance fairs. So in the Renaissance fairs, I worked with the elephants and the camels. And then in the circuses, I did acrobatics and fire performance. And same with the carnivals. I was usually the person like where they hang you from way up on the little gurney thing and shooting fire over the crowds and stuff. And yeah.
Very cool. From that to editing, that's not a very much of a change.
No, it's not. It's like the same, really. It's pretty much the same thing. I don't really notice a difference in my daily life now. No, actually, I started with editing. I started in traditional publishing out of high school.
Oh, did you?
So, yeah, I started at one of the big five, actually. And so my dream honestly, my dream was to join the Air Force. And I had all these chronic pain issues and I couldn't join the Air Force because I couldn't pass the physical. So I was like, well, shit, this was what I was planning on. Now what am I going to do? So I went into editing, and it's just something I was good at because I had a degree. I didn't get my master's until way later, but I went into traditional publishing as an editor thinking that would be my in to finally get a book published. And that was when I learned, okay, so this is really hard to do, to get in. And even if you do, you don't really make money on it.
Right.
So I kind of gave up on getting my book published. And then it wasn't until, because gosh, that was in the early 2000s. And then it wasn't until 2016 when I was paying attention to the boom in self-publishing that I figured, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to do my book now that I know how to do this. But I mean, over the whole time I was traveling, I was still doing freelance editing on the side. So, because it was, traveling isn't always guaranteed. Like if you have a rained out weekend and only, 200 people show up to the show, you're not getting paid. So, because
Yeah.
I mean, everything I worked, we got paid in percentages. We didn't get paid by the hour.
Right.
Unless when I was doing the fairs with the camels and the elephants, I got paid hourly for, like, you know, raking poop and stuff and bathing in them and taking the llama running. But it was, yes, we had to take the llama running. But other than that, it was all a percentage based on how much the show brought in. So yeah, I did freelance editing because I mean, we usually only worked 2 days a week, just like on the weekends and stuff. And then we were in transit all the time, and like the trains and the vans and all the stuff. So yeah, freelance editing was easy on the side. I just never thought I could make a living doing freelance editing
Mhm.
until self-publishing got super popular, and then all these needed editors. So
Yeah. So, you know, if we're going to go into the editing portion of it, do you have any tips for anybody that, you know, I mean, as far as, you know, writing the first book and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, everybody's first book really sucks and needs help, but, you know, I mean, how do you go about that as an editor when you look at it? I mean, is it an awful lot of hand holding, or how do
it,
you see it?
it also depends on the genre. So if it's a fiction book, there can be a lot. Well, honestly, there can be a lot of hand holding either way. It really just depends on the author. Like with nonfiction, we spend usually a lot of time rearranging the book to make sense, but sometimes you get someone who, like, maybe they have experience in designing courses, or just they've read a lot of books. Like every once in a while, you get a first-time author who put it together beautifully, and it just needs copy editing. Because even unless you are an experienced writer, you're going to do a lot of things that you're not supposed to do in books. But
Sure.
it really just depends. Usually there's a developmental round first where I give feedback over the whole structure, and once the structure is solid, we move into the details. With fiction, that depends. I usually, because fiction books tend to be longer, I um they can get expensive. So I usually recommend fiction authors go through a beta reader first, or
Mm-hmm.
two, so that they know their story is solid. Because if I'm in there editing grammar and all of a sudden I notice a huge plot hole and you've only purchased one round of editing, then I'm going to have to, and that's assuming I notice the plot hole. Because if there's a ton of grammatical errors and I'm just editing for grammar, I might not be able to pay attention to your storyline, and I might not notice that plot hole. And that happens a lot. I'll have people say, well, you didn't point out this plot hole when you were editing. I'm like, yeah, it's because I don't know what your story was really about. I was focused on your grammar.
Right.
However, if you're doing content editing, that's when you're going to notice stuff like that. And a lot of fiction editors choose to bundle copy editing and content editing together. So I'm looking at the content of the story and grammar, and that's really hard to do. So I will still miss some things, but for the most part, if I point out a major plot hole, like this literally happened. I had a character, or I saw a character get killed off, and then like 3 chapters later, they're having tea. I'm like, hey, this character's dead. And she's not supposed to be having tea. And then that poor author, like, luckily she got my message early enough, because I couldn't just keep editing, because she had to like completely rewrite a whole section of the book.
Oh
Because
yeah.
so yeah, there's just really make sure your plot holes are secure, unless you're going to your editor specifically for that type of thing. So if you are trusting your editor to help you with plot holes, then great. Just know that you're going to need a whole second round of editing after you get the story solid, because
Mm-hmm.
you have to get sentence structure and stuff.
It's really funny because that's the problem I'm in right now. I didn't do the exact same thing. I wrote my book 4 last year, or not last year. Gosh, it was February of 2020, and then lockdown happened and had some other things happen or whatever. And I read the first part of the book, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. I got to rewrite this. And so I rewrote it, and all of a sudden somebody had to die. But my problem is that they existed, and I wrote books 4, 5, and 6. Okay.
Oh, no.
And so I changed some things in 4. I had to rewrite. I'm in the process of rewriting 4 because I killed somebody that is in future chapters. But what I changed in 4 also affected 5. So 5's got to be rewritten. Yep. And so I know 6 is screwed. And it's just like, oh God, now I'm getting back into writing and stuff. It's like, oh, great.
That's actually what happened with my Owl series. the fourth book was supposed to come out a month after the third book, and it ended up being 4 months after the third book because and this is my own fault. Well, I did notice a plot hole, and so I had to go back and fix it. But then I also, while I was fixing that, I killed someone. And it was, so after I killed her in, gosh, I think I killed her in book 3. I don't think I killed her in book 2, but initially I had killed someone else. And then I liked that character so much. I was like, no, she's important for the spin-off series, because now there's a spin-off series to the Owl books that it was supposed to come out in June, but my cover designer got really sick. And so she just finished the covers last week. So it'll be coming out eventually. But yeah, I realized, well, okay, so she's now in the spin-off series. Then I had to go rewrite the entire 4th book to make one character dead and the other one alive. And so it was fun.
Yeah, stuff like that happens all the time.
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal, except for all the time they have to spend rewriting the damn thing. Yeah. So you do the editing, you do developmental editing, content editing, you know, so on and so forth, and that's at your Wandering Words Media.
WanderingWordsMedia.com.
WanderingWordsMedia.com. Say it again.
WanderingWordsMedia.com.
Yeah. So what else is going on? You're in lovely Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, things going well there.
You know, we're not allowed to have indoor dining, and the gyms are down to a 10% capacity.
Ooh.
So yeah, and I'm a weightlifting fanatic, so I've been very promiscuous with gyms lately. I have signed up at like 8 different gyms in the past like couple months. Like all these standards, because every single one of them, like I'll sign up and then they'll change the rules, and so then I move to a different one, and it's been fun. Also, I can lift weights, and I actually just dropped pretty much my entire savings building an Olympic lifting gym in my garage.
Oh.
So now I don't worry about any of that. But everything was on back order, so I'm waiting now for a lot of it to be installed.
Yeah, did you do metal plates or you do bumper plates?
Bumper plates. Metal plates freak me out. Not to mention there's concrete floors in the garage. So, because I mean, I do a lot of snatches and jerks and stuff, so I drop them, and like metal plates back. I don't want to shatter the concrete floor, and I'm having a platform installed too, so I can drop them.
You know what I did? I've got a concrete floor in where I have my weightlifting stuff, and I have a sauna back there too. Nice. And what I did was I went to the local farm and fleet, and they had these 4x6 1-inch rubber mats that they use. They're called cow mats, and they put them down for dairy cows.
Nice.
So they aren't resting on the concrete, but they take a hell of an impact. And I just put those down right over the concrete. They're like $20 a piece.
Nice.
Yeah, instead of building a platform or whatever, and that ended up really nice. So I can I've got metal plates, and I can crash whatever I want, and it's just like doink, just a nice little bounce.
Yeah, I have like rubber flooring there right now, but I'm not doing any like big snatch drops or anything until I have that platform installed. So,
Very, very cool. Oh, weightlifting. Those are the days when you actually could go to a gym.
Yeah, it's back in the, what was that decade even called? Because now we're in the 2020s, the 20 teens.
I have no idea.
Like back in the last decade.
I don't know, but I do know that life as we knew it back in early or in 19 is not going to exist anymore.
No, definitely not.
Things are going to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not for the better either, but who knows?
Who knows indeed.
But, the vaccine's coming out fairly quickly, so hopefully life gets back to normal-ish. It'd be nice to be able to go out to a restaurant and actually sit down and eat something, and stuff like that. I mean,
unless the vaccine starts the zombie apocalypse, that's what I'm waiting for. I read a science fiction book about that actually, and this was published, gosh, I can't remember when it was published, but it was like 10 or 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's literally a virus that starts in China, and everyone goes into a pandemic and people go into lockdown, and then they come out with the vaccine, and then the people who, no, it was the vaccine that started turning people into zombies. And so it went from like a pandemic to zombie apocalypse. And there's all this like really weird, freaky, like, what's the word? Wow. Premonition type thing. And it's very disturbing as I'm reading it. Like, this was published when?
I think you posted that on Facebook.
Yeah, it was very disturbing to read. Like,
yeah.
So,
really weird. This is no longer science fiction. This is a freaking manual. So did you just skip the rest of it and just go to the end to see how it works out for us?
It didn't work out well.
Oh,
it did not work out well.
That's no good.
Yep.
It is really funny, you know, even if you look at like Stephen King's The Stand. And there are a ton of books out there that kind of that either dance around or directly address something similar to what's happened here in 2020, you know, or even I guess it started in 2019, which is really weird. But I think it's great fruit for writers as far as, you know, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of anti-vax books coming out, as you know, as far as, you know, trying to play on fears to sell books or something like that. But you know, fiction, zombie apocalypse, you know, it'd be really cool if they turned them into vampires.
Yep. That's Derek Murphy wrote something kind of similar.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, it's going to be 3 books. The second one just came out, and he wrote it while he was on quarantine. And I kind of want to call him. I'm totally going to like find him on Facebook later, be like, hey, Derek Murphy, you should watch this interview. But
yeah.
I'm a big fan of his, and his books are just plotline. Oh my God, that man knows plotline.
Yeah.
And he gets you sucked in, and you're like, whoa, what the hell just happened? What, now there's zombies? Like, so this one, it was basically like the Hunger Games, but with vampires and princesses. And then, but the idea is like, it's post-apocalyptic, but basically like there was this huge outbreak, and then they found this serum that they injected, and then they became the elite, which is basically they're vampires.
Yeah.
So it's a cool plot line. But he wrote the second book, and the second book's very different from the first one, because you can tell he was like in lockdown and like, oh my God, I'm dealing with the apocalypse right now. And so then he wrote the second book, and you're just like, ooh, it's a little bit darker there.
Well, you know, that's when shit gets real.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But if anybody's listening to this and you want it's called Thirst. I think the first one is Thirst, and the second one is Taste by Derek Murphy. And I think his author name is D.S. Murphy. But yeah, it's good. It's really good.
D.S. Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to note that in the show notes, just so people have some links and such to get them.
Yep.
So very cool. What, you know, how is it balancing being an editor and a writer at the same time? How hard are you on yourself?
Oh my God. It's I have 2 different brains. Like, I literally just have to use 2 different brains. When I'm writing, I cannot edit. So when I write, I have a weird process. Like I write it, and then I read what I wrote, because like I just write and go. Sometimes I dictate instead, but usually I take what I wrote and then I read it out loud into into Otter AI, because Otter AI will actually space it out and put in punctuation, but it's a little weird, but it's more legible than like Google Docs or something. So I read it out loud into Otter AI, and I kind of edit myself as I go while I'm reading it. But the first draft I write with no editing, I just boom, word vomit. And so sometimes I drink, and then, you know, I get it going. And so then the story's done, and I can write about a draft in a week. So like I can usually write about like 60 to 100,000 words in a week doing that. But it's just like word vomit. And then I dictate it into Otter AI. So I read it back to myself the first time out loud into Otter AI, and I kind of change things as I go. with Otter AI. Then I take the transcript from Otter AI and I read it out loud again. And I make notes of any plot holes that I need to go fix, and I might try to do them, but then I read it out loud again into Dragon. And so when you're doing dictation in Dragon, it's a little different because you have to say your punctuation and stuff. So I'll say, begin quote, cap this, da 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 da. The person was walking down the street, period, end quote, new line. This person said, comma, and like you have to talk like that. But that's when I clean it up from Otter AI. I edit it more out loud into Dragon. And then by the time I'm done with it in Dragon, I usually have a pretty clean draft of how I want the story to be. I don't have to add much. Then I start copy editing. I fix any final little plot holes as I'm copy editing. And that's my new brain. That's my copy editing brain, not my creative brain. That's my scrutinizing brain. And then once I'm done copy editing myself, then it's ready to go to an editor. So when I'm editing, it's just it's just a completely different brain. I have like my creative writing brain. I have my content editing brain, which is a little more similar to my creative writing brain. And then I have my copy editing brain. And I do not use them at the same time. Otherwise, you end up just like meticulously writing 6 perfect pages and it takes you a month.
Wow. 6 pages in a month. Some people would kill for that kind of output. Not kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm good with writing 100,000 words in a week, even though they're
really,
and I have to crop it. I have to crop it. I have to crop it down to, I have to crap it out, you know. That's how I write.
I just poop right on just poop it out on the page. Yeah.
I take the words, I chew them up, I swallow them, and I poop them out, and it's a story.
Yeah, so it's not really word vomit. It's
word shit.
Word shit. Okay, awesome. That is a creative term that I have not heard yet, but yeah.
I'm going to go patent that now.
Oh, yeah? All right. Copyright, hurry up, do it before Cat gets to it. Yep, there you go.
Hold on, I'm picking up my phone right now and doing this. But I got a text message. Sorry. My mom texted me. Look, see what happens when I check out my phone?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
That's why mine's way over there, so I don't look at it. Otherwise, I'm kind of the I'm kind of the checker.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of people that try and get a hold of me, especially across the pond. And it's usually at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And my wife's always, you know, what are you doing on your phone? It's like, I'm doing business, you know, seriously.
Really, when they're over there, that's their time schedule too. It's
yeah, it's just it's funny. So do you find yourself on getting stuck on social media?
No,
actually,
I don't. I'm actually really good about that. I have allotted social media time. I check it twice a day. Usually I will, if I'm posting, it's in the morning, and then I check it again in the evening. But I also have notifications turned off for like when I'm writing. The times I will get sucked in is if I'm doing something like in Facebook Messenger and interacting with a client, then I start getting the little dings, and that's when I go check things.
Yeah.
Unless I post something that I know was very controversial, I do check it every few hours to make sure that no one has, you know, started a war. But other than that,
just to note, Cat never does that.
But yeah, other than that, I'm actually trying to make an effort to be more active on social media now, because I have not been in the past. It was getting bad. I was missing all sorts of messages. I was getting hundreds a day, and I was just ignoring them because I was overwhelmed. So I'm trying to kind of be a little better about it. I basically, like, I check Facebook daily. I'm going to start checking Instagram daily. And then as I explore other avenues, I'm going to have like allotted days of the week where I post and check. So yeah, it's a tough one.
The thing that gets me is, you know, like you'll be scrolling down and just kind of, okay, what's going on, you know, and I really try and keep track of my friends, or at least, you know, the people that I follow, or, you know, whatever. And the way you just get sucked into, you know, whatever the hell's going on Facebook, you know, all of a sudden it's like, oh, look, squirrel. And it's an hour later. It's like, shit, I should have been writing, you know, I should have been editing. I should have been doing something, you know, versus, you know, wasting this mind droning time. The other problem I have is binge watching Netflix.
I don't even have a TV, so I don't have that problem.
Oh, I will be sitting here doing something. I'll throw Netflix up and just throw something on, just because, you know, I need noise. So it's either music or, you know, something.
Oh, see, I don't.
And during quarantine, be like, oh, I haven't seen The Walking Dead yet, you know. And so I binge watched 9 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Is that how many there are?
Yeah. I think they're
Wow.
working on number 10 right now, but I will not watch it.
See, I love zombies, and that's like a show that I actually would watch. And
Well, what I found is that my productivity went into the toilet because, you know, I'd be looking up, oh, cool, yeah, okay, you know, and then look back down and do something and look back up, and, you know, all of a sudden I'm not getting anything done. So I had to quit that. And then I jump into Facebook and get the hell out.
Yep.
You know, and then all of a sudden, hey, look, I'm producing again. That's pretty cool, you know. But same thing with Twitter, I don't pay attention to at all. I post a few things there and whatever. Instagram, I love Instagram. And I try not to spend so much time on there because I will go look at everybody's stories and just watch everything. And I need to, you know, just let's do the top 15. Okay, done, you know, and then get the hell out of there. But otherwise I get nothing done.
Yeah, I'm remarkably good about that, actually. And it's not something I ever had to make an effort to. I guess it's just a lot of it is I get overwhelmed really easily and I get overstimulated. So like I'll scroll and I'm done. And I actually have to make myself do it because I want to interact with my friends and my readers, because like I have a lot of my fans on there that I want to interact with and show, hey, I'll put a heart on your post. I'm excited. And so then the more you interact, the more they show you that person's stuff. And so but it's tricky. When I'm working, I turn everything off. I turn my phone on do not disturb, because like, you know, my boyfriend texts me like 100 times a day, and it's like, and I just have to, and then, or like my daughter, if we're not in the same house at the time, or sometimes when we are in the same house, actually, if she's in the other room, hey, hi, pay attention to me, mom, you hate me. And I'm like, Aura, I'm working. So it's like I have my bubble, and when I'm writing, I stay in my bubble and I don't get distracted. My big distraction though is binge reading. Oh my gosh, Kindle Unlimited is like the worst thing ever. It's just, I don't do TV. I don't have a TV. I don't do Netflix or anything, but you give me a really good series. Oh man.
I consider that working.
In a way it is. Yeah.
I don't put that in the same category as binge watching on Netflix, which again, you know, you can pick up a lot of stuff on a good series on Netflix, you know, as far as, you know, good ideas or whatever. I mean, I get that. But I don't game, I don't do anything else. But when I'm reading, I consider that more of a studious activity than anything. Yeah. Because I can't shut, oh, cool, this is how he did that, or oh God, I'll never want to do that, you know. And so it's kind of a developmental thing.
Yeah, I find myself trying not to edit when I'm reading too. But there are definitely things I notice, because I read almost entirely indie authors because I like to support them. And honestly, I like the books better because I like to see what's trending, what's popular, what people are liking. I do read like a full-blown traditionally published series every couple months or so. And I do that on purpose because like the reason I read indie authors is because I'm an indie author and I need to know what people are doing. I need to know what is selling. The closest thing I do to like social media scrolling is I go on Goodreads and Amazon and I read the reviews a lot, good and bad, because it helps me see what people are reacting to.
Are there good reviews on Goodreads?
No, but
okay, I'm just curious. I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Goodreads is a freaking war zone, and it's just
really
good. Oh my God, Goodreads. But I do actually read the reviews on there. I can't read the reviews on like authors I really love because I get defensive, because it's like, if I like, there's this one author, Michelle Maddow, my daughter is obsessed with her books and I've read them all too. And I've seen her books just get ripped to shreds on Goodreads. And I'm like, what is the matter with this bitch? How does she not see that this is actually a really good plotline? So I have to tamp it down. So there's another author, Yumi Ori Wilson, I love, and she just gets ripped to shreds on there. And so I try to stick with mostly reading the reviews on Amazon because those are a little more
Level-headed.
Yeah, but on Goodreads, there are people who have like their book blogs and they post a book Goodreads and they like really think the plot line through, so that you can actually get some really good feedback reading reviews on other authors' books and your own. But like, it's honestly better because you're not going to get emotional when you're reading reviews for a book that like an author that you're not super attached to.
Right.
So that really does help. But I do that with traditionally published authors as well. So like my favorite traditionally published series, aside from Harry Potter, not gonna lie.
What?
Shut up. Is the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. I love that series. And I have learned a lot from those books, plotline, character development, and like what the reviewers really think. Because Ransom Riggs is traditionally published, she has a ton of followers. That's the author of that series. Yeah. People are going to be a lot more honest about their reviews of his books. And some people are like, well, it was stupid and I didn't like the romance. And like, okay, but for the most part, people actually give really good feedback on those series. So I like to read the series and then read the reviews to see what like people really think. And it gives you amazing feedback for writing your own stuff. And you're like, okay, so like the, what is it, Caraval series? Everyone's like, well, the series was super, like that she left open all these loose ends at the end. I have to admit, I didn't like the series. I thought I was going to love it. My sister was obsessed with it, but yeah, the end felt so unfinished that I'm like, okay, don't do this. Got it. The Selection, that's another traditionally published series. There were two, and there's like there were two technically series, like two, I guess two storylines in one series. It's the first character, and then her daughter grows up and has her own selection. And it was the same thing. Everyone loved the first series, and then the spin-off series ended in the most bizarre way ever. And yeah, I learned a lot, not just about writing, but editing, because when you edit, you really want to make sure that the character grows as a person, and the ending has to be believable. You can't just, you can't just, I'm getting messages, sorry. You can't just end a story.
Eyes up front, will you? Come on.
I'm used to only having to say that to men, but you can't just end a story because like you got tired of it and like put a whole bunch of unbelievable crap in there that no one saw coming. So, and that's something indie authors do a lot. Like you have to foreshadow.
The one thing I will do with a book that it's like, okay, you know, I didn't really get it or like it or, you know, whatever. I'll actually reread it and try and figure out what the author is trying to do and see if they accomplished it or not. And I find that I have less of a critical eye with them, because I really want to understand where they're trying to go with the story and whether or not they actually accomplished it or not. So I look at it more from an artistic standpoint than anything else. For those of you just tuning in, we had a mild station break. Hopefully you enjoyed all the ads and everything. But right now, you'll notice that the lighting's a little bit different there in Colorado. That's because, you know, we took a half hour, you know, potty break, whatever. Gosh, who knows, whatever. But we were talking about taking a book that you don't really like, or you didn't really favor, and then rereading it to see why you didn't like it and actually study the book. So Kat, you're up.
So before we went on our little, you know, break thing, which I hope you do go put ads in there, or maybe you should hold up like a sign and make your own little cartoon in between.
I might do something dumb like that. Yeah. I've been known to every now and then pull some stupid stuff, but yeah.
Can you do a puppet show? Like that would be amazing.
Let me go grab my socks.
Okay. So regardless, so when we ended off on there, you were talking about rereading a book you didn't like. I was like, that's a really interesting idea. It's not actually something I've done. However, I've done it with books I did really like, and it's amazing what you notice when you watch or not watch, well, with movies too, actually, but when you read it again, the different things that you notice. I actually usually end up liking stories less when I reread them, because I notice things that as I get to know the story really well, I start to pick it apart. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe we needed this. This happened with me in the Hunger Games. So in the scene where Katniss is stuck in the tree and all of the what are the District 1 people, when they all come and they're trying to get her down, I'm sitting there thinking, well, there's so many other ways they could just get her down. Like, there's so many things that I'm like, what the heck? And then with Harry Potter, because I've read Harry Potter in 4 languages, and there's like inconsistencies I noticed with the translations, but I've also read it in English probably 5 times. There's a ton of little holes in there that I never would have noticed just reading it through once. So I'm interested to try this now with books I didn't like, to see where the author's going and to see more about the story, because there's very rarely do I stop reading a book before I finish it. I have this weird compulsive need to finish every single book I start. I'd say maybe 3 books in my entire life have I just put down because I couldn't finish them. And I would definitely not name them because I don't want to hurt the author's feelings.
Right.
But sometimes I will read a series and I'm not enjoying it, but then I get to the ending and I'm like, wow, they closed every single loop and really like just brought everything full circle, and it was fantastic, but not usually.
The only thing that I really want to kind of add to that is, you know, when you bring up Harry Potter, there's a lot of people that are not all that happy with Rowling right now. And I get that, but just as a show note, I don't care. You know, I get it that she said some things that offend people and she's got stances that nobody, you know, there's a lot of people that don't agree with. But when we're talking about literature and we're talking about books that are out there and books that people loved, you know, I tend to not concentrate on what the author's currently doing or what the personality is currently doing, but actually what their works are. It would be no different than really loving a movie and an actor saying something stupid, which happens all the time. And then all of a sudden you hate the movie. No, you still love the movie. You just hate the actor, you know, because or don't like them or don't like what they said, or, you know, find some moral objection to it. The other thing that I think is really funny is that even though she's a good author, I mean, there's no doubt about it, she writes really good books. But on the other hand, if you're going to be so offended by everything that she says, why do you care what she thinks? I mean, really, why do you give a damn? I mean, you know, she's in the entertainment industry. I think we give people like that way too much credit for knowing what the hell is going on. And, you know, they have their own belief systems and everything else. Screw it. Let her believe what she wants. What difference does it make to you? You know, it's about your own enjoyment, not yours. But
is this an awkward time to add that I have no idea what you're talking about?
Oh,
like, I did not know there was a controversy around her.
Oh, yeah. So, she's got basically an anti-gay, anti-lesbian type of you know, viewer stance, or it's something against transgender or something. I really haven't really paid attention to what she said because I really don't care. But I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'll never read her again. I'll never do this. I'll never," you know, it's that whole you know, blocking, stopping, you know, just hating people for whatever they say type thing.
You know, my best friend is transgender and she still eats at Chick-fil-A. So when it comes down to it, this is where I've really pushed a lot of buttons, especially lately, is because I tend not to take stances, because and I'm not putting myself on a pedestal here, but like, I try not to judge. Not that I don't judge. Obviously, we're judging everything all the time. But when it comes down to it, like, people have their beliefs. My dad was born in the 30s and he was very old-fashioned, and we disagreed on a lot of things, and I still really loved him. And even on his deathbed, he was going on rants about things that he knew I cared about, that he didn't like. We still loved each other till he died. And like, when it comes down to it, yeah, you're going to have differences of opinion. And I know that the fact that I don't hate people for having differences of opinion with me, it makes me a target, but it doesn't affect the book. I get that,
but I think people in general are so damn dumb when it comes to this type of stuff, because they want to, you know, have everybody agree with them. And that's not how you come up with good ideas. That's not how, you know, you can understand somebody else's viewpoint. Yeah. And, you know, there's all sorts of really great people out there that think differently than I do. And I want to hear their opinions. I want to hear what they think, and I want to hear what they know about it, certain subjects, because I want to learn. If you're not consistently learning, if you know everything and you're on Facebook broadcasting out there that I am shove it up your butt. Nobody really cares what you're saying anyway.
Oh, this
But
is why we're still friends.
what's that?
This is why we're still friends.
Yeah, it just, everybody's got opinions, and I love to hear them. And I may debate you on it a little bit, but it's more along the lines of I want to know what you're thinking. Why did you come to this? It's not challenging or anything like that. Because in the huge arena of ideas and fantasy and fiction and editing and everything else, I mean, that's how you come up with really good storylines. I mean, that's how you form thoughts about things. And if you can't change your opinion at any age, I think you're stuck.
Well, I'm not changing my opinion about the Oxford comma. That's like the one thing I'm really rigid on.
Yeah.
And I will never budge. So if you don't like the Oxford comma, you can just
there's other editors out there that will let you slide with that one.
You have other editors that will deal with you and your illiteracy, but whatever. So yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I never knew that was a big deal.
Yeah, go talk to 12 editors and you will learn what a big deal it is. And then when you find out who's on which side, put them in a room together.
Oh yeah.
I started a fight once in an editing group. So.
So cool.
It's a very touchy subject.
Just kind of looking at things and looking at the time. I guess we're gonna kind of call this kind of dwindle the show down a little bit. So, do you have anything you want to tell your readers or your customers or anything else that's going on? What's coming up? What's happening?
Well, what's coming up is for the nonfiction, the people who like my nonfiction stuff. And if you're following me as like an entrepreneur, businesswoman, kind of loudmouth, there's a bunch of stuff coming in that realm. Like I have a planner that I'm working on for productivity that like really, oh my God, I'm so excited about it. And I really hoped I'd have it in my hand, but I'm still waiting on my delivery. But it's like ready to go and I'm going to be releasing it for the 2021 year. But that's like where I'm putting a lot of my energy is in the unedited life thing, where basically like, we embrace the dark side. If your life is flowing, everything's not going to be perfect all the time. And a lot of people pretend like their business journey is just like, they're shitting rainbows and flowers all the time. And
right.
That's not how it goes. And sometimes you need to embrace that because it's actually okay. And it's a really good way to grow. So a lot of my focus is going to be on editing books. And then that whole unedited, like, here's what really is going on with this topic. And there's like a bunch of topics I have so many rough drafts and outlines for, and I just have to like decide which one's coming first. And fiction wise, my stuff is getting weirder. I'm slowly easing my readers in because I have like new adult and like very adult stuff coming out, but then also the stuff with my daughter. Like I have a circus horror series and a circus fantasy series.
Ooh,
everyone
circus horror.
Well, because I have so much circus experience that everyone was asking about it. So like when I published my memoir, everyone's like, can you write a book about like just your years of train hopping? I'm like, well, yeah, but I kind of don't want to expose certain people and things. However, that gave me the ideas for all these fiction series. So yeah, I have a lot of circus horror stuff and actually circus fairy tales coming out that are going to be great. So all of my circus stuff, just, you got to bear with me because there's not a huge market for that. And I'm okay with that. So these may not do all that well, but I really am excited to get them out there. Sometimes I have to write for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually that circus horror thing, I'm like, ooh, when's that coming out? But
a lot of the people who are interested are like really interested.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it may not do super well overall, but the people who read it, it's a specific group I'm going for. They're really going to like it. And those are my people.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I'd buy that. Oh, you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking quite frequently. So we'll check in again here shortly. And
hopefully I'll have more consistent lighting.
Yeah. Very cool. Kat, I know you're really busy and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I love talking to you. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to the DIY Writer podcast and Qat Wanders and Wandering Words and everything else that she does, which is a ton. If you would, please subscribe to my podcast and whatever app you happen to be listening this to, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. We might get some few extra videos there in the future. Anyway, other than that, I want to thank you all for listening. I want you to have a great day. I want you to keep your chin up. Bye-bye.
Please hit the subscribe button. I get a bonus for every subscriber and I only need 1,506 more to become a full-time paid employee. Help me please.
Bye.